Nikki, thank you. This is our second intro of this. Thank you for being on Easy Talk.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, we have talked off air for the past like 20, 30 minutes about, a plethora of topics. The reason you're on today is not what I want to kind of overshadow every other piece of this discussion that we're going to have. So I'm actually going to kind of save that part for a little later if you don't mind. But I kind of wanted to introduce you to our audience through how I met you, right? And the way I met you was actually through Shamrock FC. You are one of the, I don't know if you could say one of the three running card girls, because I don't believe Whitney McAllister is with them anymore. But
yeah, I think they are trying out and rotating different people in, but I'd like to keep doing it.
Yeah, so one of many of the ring card girls, and that's how actually you met Jackie DeFranco and Whitney McAllister. And I've had both of them on the podcast as well. Two phenomenally deep and transparent episodes, if you ask me. So I thought, let's get like the trifecta. Let's get all three ring card girls on. You live a unique life in terms of your interests and your work. But before we get into that, can you just explain to me how you got into ring card girling? Like who picked up the phone and was like, you want to do this?
Yeah, so I've always wanted to do that. Kind of like what Jackie said on the episode. Like you said, great episodes with her and Whitney. I love doing stuff like that. I have so many little bucket list ideas of things that I want to do that usually revolve around, I feel like, fitness or aesthetics and things like that. And I just never really, the opportunity never really happened. I used to live in Cape Girardeau, and there would be fights going on down there. And I was probably 21 in college, and someone asked me to sub in and do it. And I kind of had that idea when I was younger in high school that I wanted to do that. I just like to say yes to opportunity. That's why I'm here. So it didn't work out. I ended up not subbing. The girl didn't get sick. And I kept trying to get my foot in the door, but I'm not from St. Louis, so I didn't know anybody. And then COVID happened. And Peaches, who I work with, is into MMA. And basically, we cornered Rob at the barbershop that I work at because I kept going to the fights. I had a boyfriend whose best friend is Jose. And so we would
Jose Intriago?
Yes.
Okay. And when you say Rob, do you mean Rob Donaker?
Yes.
Does Rob Donaker get his hair cut at the barbershop?
Like, there's a bunch of people that get their hair cut. Through,
okay. How'd you corner him? Like, at a Shamrock FC event?
No. So, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I had a boyfriend. His roommate and best friend is Jose. We started going to the fights. I thought, it'd be something to try. I've been to Cardinals games. I've been to hockey games. I was a Blue Crew cheerleader for Blue Crew this past season. So I've been to a lot of different stuff, but never really thought I'd get into fighting. I thought it was this like macho, egotistical thing. It's not. I got hooked. I really loved it. And then I thought, oh, that's right. I wanted to be a ring girl. I forgot before COVID and all this crazy stuff. That was one of my little bucket list ideas. And then Peaches, who I work with, said, oh, I could probably get you in touch with some people. And I talked to Whitney. She was, they were taking pictures. I took a picture with her. She said, email Rob. And I would email him and different people. And nothing really happened. I'm sure he gets lots of emails a day. Again, like I said, I don't know anybody. I'm sure I sounded like just some random rabid like fan or something. And then Peaches cuts his hair. So then I had this idea. I don't know if Rob knows this. I feel like I told him this, but I can't remember exactly. But I knew he was getting a haircut, and if he's in the chair for an hour, he can't leave.
He's trapped.
Yeah, he can't leave. He has to listen to me.
Either that or he leaves with half a haircut.
Yeah, and so I'm really like a politely pushy person.
That is such a genius move.
Thanks. I'm not a manipulative person, but I like to get what I want, damn it. So I'm pretty persistent. And so just nothing was happening. I'd been going to these fights for a whole year. Every time Jose fought, at least, which she was really into it then. And so, he turns out Rob likes the abuse because he thought that was the coolest thing that I was, really clearly committed. I really wanted to do this if I was, trying to like set this up with Peach. So he thought that was a good sign, a green flag, apparently, that I was worried he was going to think, who's this crazy bitch, just like cornering me at the shop. And then he was like, sure, let's go. And, I think with the ring girls, especially during COVID, it was kind of hard to find people and maybe get people to consistently show up and who are responsible and just will take care of business, self-starters, And so then, I just think I really liked everybody. It seems like they liked me from what I know. And, and then met Whitney. Whitney and I got along, and then Jacqueline, and just, like I said, kind of became this little trio.
Yeah, you guys are like the Three Musketeers, right?
Yeah.
Or Musketeerettes? I don't know. But
Yeah.
I mean, Shamrock has benefited from your relationship, your ability to work with them. And I would agree with you that I think sometimes a lot of these jobs in various fields kind of get overlooked, but it's like one of those things where you notice it when it's done wrong. You don't if it's done right, right? Like if a ring card girl is in there, looks good, smiling, energetic, all these other things, it's kind of like par for the course. But if you don't have it, it's almost like a weird feeling, like there's something wrong with this picture, something's not there.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm not sure that I'm, I don't actually know what I look like because I grew up dancing, so everything's done in front of a mirror. So before you perform it, you know exactly what you look like, and usually you make some recordings. And so honestly, like I feel like even though I've done it quite a few times, I like to do everything and be thorough and do the best that I can do, whether it's, my main job or a side job like that. I still take everything with the same conviction and a level of commitment. So I agree. It's a lot harder than it looks, actually. It's not, rocket science, but like you said, when something's off, it really does have that trickle down effect through the audience. So it's so important to, like you said, have the energy and bring it all together.
If you don't mind, I'm a little curious about something, and I haven't asked Jackie or Whitney this, but is it what you thought it would be?
I think so, yeah. I didn't really know what to expect. Like I said, I just started getting into it because my boyfriend at the time was friends with Jose, so I didn't have a lot of expectation, but I'm trying to think if there was anything
that shocked or...
No, I think I think it's everything I thought it would be. I can't...
How's the crowd? I mean, have you...
Yeah, everybody's really nice. I mean, some fights are a little more exciting than others. It's kind of like being different, but similar to my experience on Blue Crew this season, because you're not cheering like a cheerleader, but you are amping up the crowd. You're there helping.
Can you just elaborate? What is Blue Crew? Forgive me.
Blue Crew are the cheerleaders for the St. Louis Blues. So they do the ice and the dancing. So there's dancing in the stands, and then you see them on the ice, shaving, picking up all the extra bits.
How did you get into that?
Oh, that's another bucket list thing I've always wanted to do.
Just like, don't worry, I'm checking them off.
Yeah, I got to make up because COVID took like 2-3 years of my life off, and I'm not getting any younger, so.
You said earlier that you were, when you were dancing, you would do it in front of a mirror. If you don't mind me asking, how long did you dance, and did you give it up? Are you not dancing anymore?
Well, yeah, like I said, COVID kind of messed up a lot of things, and even before that, I had a lot of health issues that got me out of it. But I started when I was 5. My mom put me in all kinds of lessons. Like you said, I have a lot of interests that are multifaceted that kind of don't really fit together. They're kind of unusual things. I live an unusual lifestyle. And a comment that I get from a lot of people, it's just, most people, if they're in athletics and sports, I feel like there's a lot of like-minded hobbies and other type of things that go together. But I'm into animals. I'm into barbering. I'm into sewing. I took sewing lessons as a kid. And I had this kind of renaissance childhood, I feel like, thanks to my mom. I'm so grateful, who exposed me to all these different interests. But I'm also ADHD, so it might be something to do with the fact that I can see, maybe just my personality, I see all these cool opportunities and stuff, and everything seems fun. I'm not that person who is like, oh, I'm trying to think of how to put it, that it's like, oh, I wouldn't like that. I'm like, oh, just like the MMA stuff, like, I'll try it out. I'll see. If I don't like it, it was, something to try and check out.
Yeah, at least once.
You never know. And then turns out I really got into it, and I like that better. I feel like I can say this now that I'm not on Blue Crew. I actually enjoy going to the fights more.
Really?
I do love hockey. Blues are amazing. Don't get me wrong. I think, it's just the Blue Crew, the Blues, their season's so, it's a lot of work. It's so much work in such a consistent, short, contractual period of time. Like, it's a long season, but there's something every day, whereas the ring girl stuff and going to the fights can be a bit more casual,
Can I ask you something that, if it's a little too invasive, let me know. But sometimes I'm curious about the finances and all of this for these like cheerleaders and all these things. Would you say, what is the most valuable part about like being a Shamrock FC ring card girl or a cheerleader / dancer for Blue Crew? Is it the actual work, or is it the networking of doing that work and then whatever it is that can kind of produce for you?
Yeah, I think for some people it could be the networking. But you definitely have to want to do it. It's the experience, for sure. I'm sure you've seen the Dallas Cowboy cheerleader special. Everybody's been asking me out there, like, is it really like that? Obviously, that's football versus hockey and things. But, yeah, they get paid the same minimum wage that I do. And I think because they're the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, they're they're
Wait,
built
hold
up.
up, hold up, hold up.
What?
You get paid minimum wage?
Mm-hmm. I
Do
make a
the-
lot more working Shamrock for a lot less work. Yes. Lot easier, less rules about things. And I understand the rules. I respect the rules. It's nothing against it.
What
but
are the rules? Forgive me. Terribly sorry to interrupt the content that you're enjoying right now, but if you've been watching our content for the past couple of months, you realize that Easy Talk is a brand new podcast. We're genuinely trying to figure this thing out as we're going. Some growing pains for sure. If you are genuinely enjoying this content, we feel very humble in that, but we would like to ask that you would also subscribe and like to the channel, simply because it does help us in the algorithms and ultimately to grow. So take a second. I'd really appreciate it. And on with the show.
Well, it's just a lot of stuff. Your hair has to be curled. And every team is different. They have their own, set. But
So you're talking about like
it could be on rules about social media, hair, makeup, very particular because they want you to look like a team, very
and you're
cohesive.
representing the team and all that.
Yes, of
but
course,
they're
yeah.
paying you not
The
like
minimum. Yeah.
Is that like a
That's a thing.
dude? Am I like? Is the smoke coming out of my ears? I'm not understanding this. A professional sports team
yes.
is obviously contracting.
I
work
guess
from
some
you.
could pay more. I don't know. I haven't been on all the teams, but you see that in the Dallas Cowboy cheerleader special that they are, obviously their team has existed, I think, or been more established, I should say, than Blue Crew. It's not that, they're kind of apples to oranges, but they are an entity. I think some people like the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders more than they like the Dallas Cowboys. They go for the cheerleaders.
That's what I'm saying. Like
it's
a brand unto its own.
It's $1 billion.
I don't know anything about
industry.
cheering and dance, but I know about like the Dallas Cowboys cheerleading team.
Yes, they're very legitimate, and so it's crazy to think that these girls are putting in all this effort. And same with Blue Crew.
How is
I
that
would say
acceptable?
we try less or don't do as much. It's just I don't know.
But how is that
There's
acceptable? Like,
it's
am
a
I
systemic
crazy?
problem for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just-
I guess it's a good thing I'm not trying out. There's trials.
I'm so
going on
sorry.
right now.
I'm so sorry. This one is like literally blowing my mind.
That's why people keep asking me when I'm working at work. All these guys shockingly are super into this supposed to be female reality show. All the guys are into it, and they're because I guess it's football enough related. They're like, I'll try it, or their wives or girlfriends are watching it. Turns out they're more into it than their wives and girlfriends. But yeah, that's where they keep at. They're like, I can't believe it's this. I mean, you could get cut because your face looked a little. Again, I think they do dramatize a little bit, but
Of course,
not.
it's TV
I
show.
haven't been on the DCC, but honestly, not really. I mean, I've tried out and been in the dance world for so long, and I've been out of it too for a long, long time and never really worked, super professionally like some of these girls. Blue Crew is a pro team, but obviously some are, like I said, more established than others, but they all undercut the girls for sure.
So
I
then
feel should be paid more.
It has to be the case that I was saying where like they're doing the work because of like they're then a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader.
Yeah, I
and
think
then
that
every
holds a lot of
opportunity
weight on a resume.
but
too, and you
just
make
for-
lifelong friends, and or like Camille Kostek? She's with Gronk. She's set for life.
Good for you, girl.
Yeah, there could be. I don't think that's why if you're really into it, you're not going to do it for those reasons. But I think sometimes maybe there's girls. What? Oh my God.
He's fine. He's fine. He's fine.
He's
I
like, I'm
just think
coming
it's
out.
a-
I'm tired of waiting.
He's like, guys, when is it my turn? That's amazing. My producer's like freaking out. We have a special guest that's going to be on later on in the podcast. He's making a small appearance right now. But anyway, forgive me. I guess my only inquiry in all of this is clearly something that's like important enough to create and manage and all this for the women to be making far less than I thought is kind of amazing to me is what I will say. That seems
And it sucks because I think they're all technically, again, I don't know all the ins and outs, NBA and different teams, they all do their own thing, but most of these girls are working, everyone's working full-time jobs while doing this. And then
they have to be. They're making minimum wage.
Right. And when you're doing, like, for example, again, the DCC, they're doing they do these jump splits that you see on the show. And
what is a jump split? Forgive me.
it's where you jump and do a perfect 180 split in there and you land on your pelvis. You jump, leap into the air, and then down. They're famous for it. I mean, I did it as a kid. I haven't done it since I was probably in high school, but in certain recitals and things, it doesn't have to be a cheerleading move. But I think we had a can style dance when we did it. But it's really hard on your hips. You're suffering a lot of injuries. You could snap your Achilles or break your ankle. And they're not getting insurance or any benefits or anything like that, paid for. I mean, I'm sure if they I assume if they break it on the field, there's what's it called, workman's comp and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Some sort of
most of the stuff,
liability.
most stuff happens, by the time then they're 30, 40, 50, they've had to have several surgeries. That's not something that's happening while they're contracted at work on the team. It's the long term. I'm sure you same as fighters, concussions and stuff like there's all those long term injuries that just are chronic that slowly grow over periods of time that you have to think about. Is this worth it? And I'd say I would do DCC or any of these teams. I think are really great and impressive, and
I guess my
for
only
the
thing
experience.
is just compensate them appropriately. It's not like they don't have the money. This is kind of insane.
It's a really, like I said, it's a systemic problem. I think it's insulting. I'm probably gonna, I don't know, burn a lot of bridges. My coach for Blue Crew has nothing to do with her. This is like coming from higher up.
Of course.
She's amazing. She's literally Wonder Woman. She's like my boss at my other job. I don't know how she manages because she does her own full-time job as well as doing this. So again, it is a labor of love for everybody that's into it. And I do think there are benefits that come from it, but you have to want to do it, and a lot of people value maybe more the camaraderie and the friendships and stuff that come from it. But what was I saying? It's I think coming from the higher up managers, I think. Again, I've never spoken to them, but I think they think it's, again, like the ring card girling. It's a lot harder than it looks doing all this stuff. They're especially for that, we're running around the giant like arenas and we're interacting with fans. We're doing two skilled labors, dancing and ice skating, which I didn't know how to ice skate. They luckily taught me, so I'm super grateful. Crossed another bucket list off. I've always wanted to learn how to ice skate, so super grateful and super appreciative for all that opportunity. But it was just so much for such little pay that I had to do the big girl thing and say, hey, I have to go back to working and not let it cut into my job at the barbershop because I made significantly less money and I have bills to pay, retirement to think about,
Have you ever heard of the term opportunity cost? It is essentially what you're giving up for what you're doing. Like, what does this opportunity cost
Right,
me?
yeah.
It just sounds like the opportunity cost was too high. You were giving up too much possible income doing something else for doing this.
It's one of those things too. If I had a different lifestyle where maybe I was married or had a boyfriend that lived together, very serious relationship where they could say, hey, I'm going to foot a little more of the bills in the meantime while you're making a little bit less because it's cutting into your work hours. Or say a lot of the girls are still in college or just post grad. They're still living with parents. So not paying, usually they might, I don't know how generous their parents are, but probably not paying rent, utilities, food, maybe not even paying car or phone bill type of thing. When I was in college, my mom would like help me out with that stuff, or even after, I think. So, if I lived one of those two lifestyles, I was just kind of in between this point of I'm not old, but I'm not the new young chickie on the block anymore. So I really wanted to do it because my coach doesn't age discriminate. There's girls from 19 years old to I think 32. And but it does get harder to keep up that energy and stamina and just again juggling it with adult life and responsibilities. It gets harder and harder. So I wouldn't say that it wasn't worth it. Like the opportunity cost wasn't worth it. It's just I really couldn't make it work as well as I wanted to. In short term, great, but long term, I'm an independent contractor in my job, so no one is putting into a 401k for me. No one's paying my health insurance and things like that. Hilariously enough, I broke my foot like 2 weeks, I think, after the main season. We were in our off season ended, so somehow I didn't break it. Ice skating and learning how to ice skate and being like a little Bambi on ice, but so it worked out, perfect timing. So it's a little bit of that also why I'm not going back. My foot is better, but it's doing some weird things. There's clicking and stuff going off my ankle. So, there's no guarantee I'd make the team again if I tried out regardless. I think it helps, but there's no guaranteed spot. So I just had to do what I think was best, not only financially, but physically, mentally. And I have my main job, so I'm committed to that first. If it's causing me to be tired at work or something, I can't be half-assing it at that. And so I just thought it was really unfair to that. I was spreading myself too thin.
I'm still amazed at the pay. That sounds crazy to me, especially considering the size of the professional sports team. But anyway, this was, we went down a rabbit hole that I'm glad we did because, boy, did that just open my eyes to something that I had no idea about. Like, I used to think that, like, amateur fighters not getting paid was pretty bad, but, like, this is kind of, like, more egregious in my opinion because what's happening is, like, amateur fighters don't get paid, but the promotions aren't necessarily making that much money, right? But, like, you guys would make minimum wage for the fucking St. Louis Blues. Like, the budget
Well, that's what I'm saying.
there.
Like, even the DCC, or I'm pretty sure Miami Dolphins and all these other teams that I really
They're
like,
all doing it.
I think because I'm pretty sure they do way more than we do. Not saying, that we don't do a lot, but they're just more developed teams. They have alumni programs and all kinds of, I'm pretty sure whoever runs their Instagram and social medias are probably a whole team, whereas we just have our coach doing everything. It's in the very building block stages, I'm assuming that's what she wants to get it to be, and I think that's a really amazing goal, and I think that it can get there with her leadership. But yeah, it's very unfair, I would say.
Well, God bless that lady.
Yeah.
So I mean that's a good segue though. So like obviously this is not something that can like sustain like your livelihood, but
Right, it's not a career.
Your career is something that does, and you're actually and forgive me if I sound a little ignorant when I say this. You're not a hairdresser. You're a barber.
Yeah, there's a
And
difference.
My producer Adrian was like explaining to me like, no, Ariane, there's a difference, and I'm like, okay. So can you just explain to me like what is the difference between a hairdresser and a barber?
Yeah, so usually I think they're called cosmetologists nowadays.
Okay, like a uniform,
It's called cosmetology school, barber school, so, but it all means the same thing. I feel like hairdresser is something that we called the profession when I was a kid, maybe. I'm not saying it's not used or not around, but it might be more outdated. Again, I don't know, that's not, again, I'm a barber, not a hairdresser, not a cosmetologist, but usually cosmetologists, they do women's hair, they do a lot of coloring, cut. Nowadays, extensions and sew-in and weave-ins are really popular. So a barber can cut women's hair, like Adrienne goes and gets her hair done. But it's in a barber style. Like the technique is totally different. It's usually men's. But we do have women come in. We are an inclusive shop. So that's something that everyone that works there and my boss, when she started it, wanted to make sure, because traditionally men are barbers, which is why one of the reasons I think everyone thinks I'm a cosmetologist when they see me. Also, I don't like have any tattoos or, I don't know, very alternative looking. I'm not very alternative looking. So, but we want to make sure that, it doesn't matter your race, your sexual orientation, your gender, whatever it is, you can come in, get a cut. Now, if you're asking for cosmetology services, again, like coloring, waxing, stuff like that, we're not qualified to do that. They do have you study in school coloring and perms and things like that, but it's not traditionally a main part of being a barber. And most shops, I don't think, even if we wanted to, we wouldn't have the time. I mean, we're just booked solid, We don't even wash their hair. You can ask for a wash service, but it's different. Like you get your hair washed, get your hair cut, colored, all that. Even if you don't get it colored, I believe you usually get it washed at the cosmetologist, but that's not how it works usually in barber world. So it just depends on the shop. They're all different, but.
So can I ask you why you chose one over the other, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
What was the interest?
Well, one, I think there's a couple different reasons. Socially, I grew up hanging around, with a lot of women doing dance and all these things and musical theater. And I love the company of women, but I also have a brother, and I feel like I'm kind of like Whitney said in her episode, very feminine, but this masculine energy, very direct. And I feel like it's more comfortable. I get along, and just growing up with an older brother, we have those same kind of jokes, I'll laugh at poop jokes and stuff like that are goofy and silly that a lot of girls are like, ew, that's childish or gross or whatever. And I don't know, maybe I am childish and gross, but I think it's funny. So at the barbershop, we have these like more locker room conversations and stuff. And I love that. We can be really professional, but really goofy and silly. And I tend to be a more like serious person at the same time. I overthink, and it's just a good way to cut loose. The atmosphere is so different. It's very community based, I feel like. Again, I never stepped foot in a barbershop until I was an adult because I went to the salon, and I loved the salons that I went to, and they weren't like this, but they can be very catty. A lot of that time they're booth rent, so people aren't necessarily friends or don't get along. But at a barbershop, it's different.
Forgive me if I take a step back. When you say booth rent, I don't know what that means.
Oh, so usually you get paid by commission, or you pay for a booth for your station. And you'll pay a certain amount per week.
Okay.
Because you're independent contractor.
It's kind of like rent at the salon. You're paying for your chair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like I'll pay you, I don't know, $1,000 a month to own this chair, and then whatever money I make, the delta will be money that I take home. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. And we don't do that at ours. We do commission, which I actually prefer. It's great when you're getting started out too, because you probably don't have a clientele. Like I was completely new, not fresh, but out of school.
When you say commission, meaning like if a haircut costs like $50, it's like what, 50-50 between you and the barbershop?
Yeah, it's whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
I think split. Every shop is different, but yeah, our boss compensates us really, really well, way better than I think any anyone else in the area does. She does things differently, but it works. As you can see, there's I think 13 of us now.
Oh, it's a
12 of us.
female-owned barbershop.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Color me surprised.
yeah. So
That sounds sexist. Not because it's a female that owns it, but it's like it's a barbershop, and I guess you were saying that like barbershops are more
you think of a
men.
guy, yeah.
So it's like it's funny. It's like I thought hairdressers or barbers were the same thing. Now I realize they're not. And the barbershop that you work at is run by a woman. So it's like
Yeah.
two birds, one stone. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's so funny because people be like, "Oh, is that the owner?" And they point to one of the guys. I'm like, "No, the owner's a woman." What are you talking about?
lady over
Every now
there.
and then they think I'm the owner because they do know it's a woman, and for some reason she's not. Won't be there. I'm like, "Why?" I'm very flattered that you think I could build all this, but no. But so it was a little bit of the social. Like I feel more comfortable, and I was looking for more like male camaraderie, kind of similar to how my brother and I are, but also the technique and the style of cutting is more similar to my job and the industry I worked in before. So cosmetology really is not similar at all to what I was doing. So I was trying to take the path of least resistance, but also I liked what I did. I was just really burned out. So I thought, well, this makes sense. And my mom kept putting the bug in my ear. I can't take credit. She was like, oh, you should go to barber school. I think you should go to barber school. And so, I was young and in my early 20s, and I had gone to college, traditional college as well. And I enjoyed what I was learning, but I don't know. Like I said, I like so many different things. It's hard for me. I can stick with stuff, but I can commit. But I just am pulled in so many directions. So
then how long have you been a barber?
I started there in 2019 as an apprentice. And it was kind of weird because
Oh, dude, right before COVID, Jesus.
yeah, and then COVID happened and like cut my apprenticeship up in the middle where we were closed for 4 months because the city said you have to shut down. And then we restarted my apprenticeship. But everybody stayed in touch. I was there in spirit. But
Can you explain apprenticeship to me? Like what you have to shadow somebody? You're just like cutting people's hair and like showing them that you're getting experience? Is that
yeah, so technically through the state you can do an apprenticeship or you can go to barber school.
okay? Oh, so you could do either or.
Yes.
Okay.
But I would say going to barber school makes the most sense. I went to barber school, but our shop does its own like personal apprenticeship. It's not anything through the state, but it's just to make sure that it's basically training, on the job training. Make sure whether you cut hair or were fresh from school like me and didn't know what you're doing, that you're cutting and have been taught proper technique. We're all doing things the same way, because even if everyone hypothetically knew all the same technique, every shop has a different layout and runs a little differently and chooses to do, maybe they use, instead of neck towels, they use paper towels. I've heard that's a thing. So just little nuances like that. So she has you go through that. And also I think it's a way of showing, like, do you really want to be here? Because some people get fresh out of school and think that barbering is just laughing and joking with your friends, and it is, but they don't realize like there's a lot of work that goes behind it into developing that skill. And just it's hard being in customer service and talking. It's draining. I love it, but it's draining talking to people all day. I spend so much time alone now, more at home than I do wanting to go out all the time, because I felt like I went out and I socialized and I partied during the day,
Yeah.
So
I'm sure it's exhausting. And then like what people want to maybe ask you to like go out, like, hey, let's do this, let's do that. But you're like, dude, listen, I've been on my feet for
Yeah.
hours today and I've been chatting it up with everybody. I'm looking forward to just going home. Like,
And that's another reason why I didn't re-audition for the Blues, because it was draining, because that's people oriented as well. But I got the female camaraderie that I was lacking. Because then after being in this industry for 5 years, I'm like, I do miss hanging out with the girls, and I'm not on a dance team anymore and things like that. So I'm not in college, living in a dorm with girls or something. So I got that out of Blue Crew, which was really great, and made a really good friend, like particularly one good friend that I can think of off the top of my head, and some other great, friends and connections. But I forgot where we were going with this.
no, I mean, I was basically just like, it makes sense to me. So I have like a sit down job, right? So like the idea of after work going home and like sitting down just sounds equally as draining. Like I'm not necessarily looking forward to leaving work and then going home and then just like sitting down somewhere and like maybe watching TV. Maybe that's why I don't watch TV shows or a whole lot of movies or anything, because I spend so much of my time
On a
sedentary.
screen?
Yeah, so I'm just kind of like going home and taking the daughter out for a walk sounds amazing the second I walk through the door. Or, getting with the wife and just being like, don't cook, like let's go out somewhere.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something that's kind of dark, and I didn't realize this until I saw it. We recently just went to Minnesota for a small like family vacation, right? For the 4th of July. And we were out like all day on the lake on this boat, and I thought to myself, like, when I was little, I used to be outside all day, every day, running around, playing with sticks, getting my knees scraped and all that stuff. And I remember like I used to just look up at the sky so much. And we were laying on this boat, like I was looking up, I was like, dude, I can't remember the last time, like midday, I was outside. I just laid up looking up at the sky. It had literally been like a decade since I have done that. And I thought to myself, there must be some sort of like psychological like inference to not having that natural light or just being outside in nature, because I felt like lighter. I felt more relaxed than I ever have in like a while, right? And I thought, okay, well, is this because I'm on some boat in a lake, or is it because I'm outside? Is it because I'm breathing fresh air? Is it because I'm not sitting down?
Well, that's why they say go touch some grass.
Yes, go touch. I touch grass,
Yeah,
and
grounding, meditating, all that. It's funny. It's so important.
I don't like how much I'm indoors, but I don't really know what to do about that, because like the majority of my work is 9 to 5 in the office next to a computer screen. So it's kind of I can understand how you feel. Like your work is slightly different than mine, so you're not necessarily trying to accept those attributes outside. You want something different from your environment. Same here. It just seems to be like we're crossing each other on the way.
Yeah, and I had a revelation in the past like year or two. I couldn't remember when I was younger. I think it's also just a part of being young and wanting to experience new things. I wanted a boyfriend so badly. I wanted a boyfriend. And I had these bad experiences, which probably contributed to why I don't really like feel the desire for one now. But I have so much male companionship at the barbershop, whether it's my coworkers or my clients. And then I have a brother. One of my good friends is a guy. So I want the opposite of that when I come home. I don't crave those things anymore. I get that meter gets filled, you know. I get fulfilled in that way.
And forgive me if I ask this, and it seems like, what about like romantic interactions?
That's what I mean. I mean, I've also been so busy with all these different side jobs and things, I haven't had the time or mental capacity to even entertain that. But I really don't think I desire it at the same time. I mean, deep down, I'd like that. But like I said, I'm getting so much of that at work. Obviously maybe not there's, the sensual sexual side of things. But I'm getting the companionship of it that when I come home, just like, no offense, but I don't want, a man in my house. I want that to be Barbie's dream house. It's not men's dojo casa house, or whatever he says.
That actually kind of leads to the next series of questions I want to ask you, because you were kind of explaining to me, and I guess we can just get into it now. So
okay.
I'm gonna do a terrible job of describing this, so please pick up the pieces.
You're good.
You engage in, I believe, an animal sanctuary. Is that the proper way to describe it?
No, yeah, you keep saying sanctuary. It's not sanctuary. I mean, it could be. So, are you talking about my house? Just my house? Yeah, yes. I wouldn't call my house a sanctuary. It's just a house with pets. It's just, I'm a person with a lot of pets.
With a lot of pets.
Yeah, I'm so excited to this podcast, but I'm so worried my landlord is going to see this, because I'm not supposed to. I have no idea.
We'll block them on Instagram, indiscriminately.
And, like, oh God, cat's out of the bag now.
Well, I mean, can you explain to me, because I'll give you, someone might watch this and say, Nicolette has 5 dogs and no boyfriend, right? So they'll be like, you're like the self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes.
But the way you describe it is not as if you got the dogs because you don't have a significant other. It has nothing to do with
No. I grew up around animals, and so and working in the pet industry, it's my family's business, so that's my thing, it's my passion.
Oh, your parents worked in the animal industry as well?
My mom has a business, I guess 30 years. I mean, she started right around the time I was born, so I think 30 years now, called Above and Beyond Care for Pets in Perryville. So she...
Perryville, Missouri. Mm-hmm. Oh, not too far, okay.
Yeah, I moved from Cape Girardeau. I grew up in Perryville, moved from Cape Girardeau to St. Louis. But yeah, so that's how I got into barbering. I groomed and trained and worked with animals my whole childhood. She started from the second that I could answer the phone. I started answering phones and, taking messages, calling people back, scooping poop. I was the professional poop scooper for years and years. As soon as I could hold a broom, start sweeping, cleaning up, helping her. And so she started the business with my grandma. And my mom is like the owner. And then my grandma retired when I was in high school. She had a heart attack, and it was time for her to retire, And but they did it together. They groomed and taught me the trade, and I feel so grateful that I got to have this really interesting childhood. And now it's it's just my lifestyle too. Even though I'm not working in the industry, and I've been getting that itch. I've been in barbering for 5 years. I'm kind of missing it, and but I was burned out. I grew up living, eating, breathing, sleeping, this life because my mom's business is on the same property as her house. So it's not in the house, but she has like a house, a shop, a barn, and there's just, I think growing up between our personal pets and the customers, about 100 animals on, a couple acres. And so every day I come home, get off the school bus, start helping her at her business, And so I think at 9 years old is when I started learning how to do clipper work on dogs and just rough cut, shaving them down and doing things. Not just the bathing and ear cleaning and all that, like little prep work, like actually grooming.
So I want to be careful how I ask these questions out because I didn't know the landlord could possibly watch this.
Oh, no, she's like 80 years old. She probably...
Okay, cool. I was going to say,
I'm
so
joking.
hypothetically, how many
joking.
animals would you want to have?
I'm half joking. They say you can have 2. I'm pushing that.
So we have a special guest for the podcast in a little bit, but before we bring him on, you also deal with exotic animals as well. Can you explain to me?
That's a recent development.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not an expert in exotics. I would say I'm trying to get there.
Everyone's gonna think like exotic, like no, but like I mean, so like how do you go from like a dog, a cat, something a little bit more I don't know,
traditional?
Popularly domesticated animals versus, let's say, a python.
Well, it all started with I wanted to win a costume contest. So another one of my hobbies, because I sewed as a kid, is and my mom got me into costume contests when I was a little girl. So I still do that on my own, and I make my own costume. I'm very passionate. I don't care about
like
Christmas.
cosplay, like when you say
costume.
Not
cosplay, but just like Halloween. I'm a Halloween girl.
Okay.
I'm one of those girls, and I'm a spooky season girl. So I had this idea for years. I would enter the Ballpark Village contest. It's a big one. Central West End around here used to be the biggest one, and ballparks surpassed it. You win $5,000.
Your PPV is.
Yeah, and then if you go to the other like versions of BPV, they're kind of like a chain. In KC, it's $8,000, so I'm trying to go there this year. I was gonna go last year, but I had a fever.
Damn, St. Louis.
So it's kind of like a side hustle, fun, just like the ring girl stuff, bucket list stuff that you can make some extra money doing it, but it's about the experience. I would still do it if I didn't win that much, but it doesn't hurt. So I was like, I'm gonna win it because I've placed in it before, but I never won first, and I'm competitive. I want to do this. So I had this idea for years, and then COVID happened, and it got a lot of these plans, like I said, got delayed. So I wanted to be Britney Spears. I'm a Britney stan for sure, and grew up, I wouldn't say I idolized her actually as a little kid, but my mom limited, I think, me watching her stuff. It's kind of inappropriate for children. But as an older kid and adult, she danced. She's blonde. Like I felt like I could relate to a lot of stuff. I wanted to be her so bad. I still want to. Well, maybe not her now, but her then. R.I.P. Brittany. But anyway, so then I thought, and I can dance. I can do the moves. I can learn it. I can like impersonate her, and make this exact costume. But I don't know that I'm gonna win. I want to win, and I thought, well, how can I trump and like just beat everybody out of this? I thought if I have a live prop, if I'm Brittany with a snake.
With a live prop.
With a live python. Nobody else would think to do that. Nobody, I think, would be ballsy enough to do it either.
I think you'd be right.
Yeah, and so
But that seems like a big commitment to adopt an animal for a costume contest. Like it's like, okay, the costume contest is one night. The animal now is like... The animal
is to be 25 years old. They literally a 25-year commitment.
Oh my God.
I'm kind of crazy, yeah, for sure. My friends will be like, oh, she's crazy, and not in that like other kind of way, but just I do what I want.
You do cool shit.
I do what I want. But no, originally I was going to rent him because you can rent for like photo shoots and different events and things, children's birthday parties. And so I was going to rent a snake. I'm not like, I wasn't going into this, that full send, I'm crazy, but I'm not like completely unhinged, And so I had set up with this local pet store. I was going to rent him. I think it's like a couple $100s per hour. I thought, well, if I even win third place, I'll still profit a lot and get to, live out this dream of mine. And I called them a couple months before. They said that they could do that. And then I called them a month before. They said, we sold the snake. We got rid of him. And, these snakes grow really big. They grow really fast. So they come in all these different shapes and sizes. So it still needs to be one that's big enough that it looks like the big yellow albino, python that she's iconic for. But it can't be so big that he's not manageable, handleable. And then you have to think about temperament. And I really didn't even know that Ballpark Village would let me in, to be honest. But I was just going to like risk python. It. Like, what is that phrase about asking for forgiveness later or whatever? Yeah.
It's a lot easier to say, I'm sorry, than it is, can I do this?
Yes. Well, it worked out. I ended up working at Ballpark Village. Another bucket list idea was to be a PBR buckle bunny. So I did that. And that's when I broke my foot for the first time and then broke the right one a few weeks later. So quit doing that.
What does a buckle bunny do? Jesus.
The dancers that do all the line dancing, it's like a go-go girl.
Dude, how hard are you line dancing? Like shattering her, like,
No,
we're getting it in, girls.
I didn't break it dancing. I broke it by dropping a bottle of liquor on my foot.
Like you were saying,
home.
like just dance on the hardwood floor from Mickey. Like, we go hard here.
No, so I had known the manager, and I called him up, and I was like, hey, this actually kind of works out. Like, is it cool if I do this? And he was like, oh, yeah, I trust you. Like, I know, you worked in the pen industry, animals. And I think he was also going out on a limb for me. But, yeah, so then, I showed up, and I won, so it was pretty cool. But now I, again, have this 25-year commitment. But I lost my train of thought. So I was going to rent this snake, and they're like, oh, we sold them. So I went to they have these, like, conventions and expos every so often in St. Louis, and they have them for everything. You could be a dentist, whatever. And so they have them for animals. And it's a trade show where people are selling them, which I want to make sure I say this on the podcast. This is something I'm very passionate about growing up from my family's business. I do not believe in purchasing animals. I don't think that it should be done. There's like how some people ethically, want to be vegan for that reason, for animal reasons. I just don't think anyone should go around buying animals. So all of my pets, it kind of is in a way a sanctuary because I get them, and they're usually really sick or something's wrong with them. I rehab them and I keep them or maybe adopt them back out.
Can you slightly elaborate on that though? Like, what do you mean?
Like for profit, like exploitation. Like people are breeding them, not usually taking care of them, even if they do to sell and profit. Yeah, it's like you don't sell children. You shouldn't sell.
So you're saying that you're not necessarily. Is it because, if I may, just to dive into that a little bit, is it because there are so many shelters with stray animals currently?
Right. There's so many great pets available. I mean, that's how I got my snake. This guy didn't want him. He was trying to sell him. People, I think, were, people go to this aren't afraid of snakes, but they're hopefully a little more sane to realize snake's going to get really big. It's really expensive to house him. It's a big commitment. It's really not that expensive to feed him, surprisingly, but when they're older to the age he is, but it's not cheap. And so nobody wanted him, no one to buy him. And usually people at these events they are exploiting. They are not taking good care of them. They're diseased. And so I don't know. I didn't know anything about reptiles. I just knew mammals and birds and maybe some more exotic birds and things, but not snakes or aquatics or amphibians, reptiles, aquatics. I never dabbled in the industry. And so I could tell something was off though. When you work in the industry, it's kind of, you have a feel for things. And so this man ended up finally, I strategically went at the end of the day, kept circling around, waiting to see, because on the last day of the show, then they were trying to unload everything. Yeah, they're desperate.
It's just an expense to him at
this
that point.
This man was not self-proclaimed, but I'll call him, he was a hoarder. He had like hundreds of snakes, venomous, you see a lot of like weird stuff like that when you're in the industry. That's unfortunate. But he had, this big tank and these lights and different things. I said, I will not buy the snake from you. I don't feel, he was still going to lose money even if I paid him. I think he was wanting like $750 originally. And I think that's a pretty normal going rate from what I understand for pet shops for his age and size.
$750 for a snake?
Yeah.
Like a generic snake?
No, for him specifically. As I'm saying, for different snakes,
python.
It could be. Things could be. As a baby, I think they sell them for maybe $30, But he was already about a year and a half old.
Okay.
And so he wouldn't rent him out. He was like, I'm moving, I need to unload him.
They live till 25, like a year and a half is...
Very adolescent. Very young.
Very young, yeah.
Yeah, so eventually this guy was so willing to unload him, though, that I said, I'll buy the setup, because I would have to go around trying to shop and put stuff together from thrift stores or other stores, marketplace, and it would be a hassle trying to get the setup, just a temp one, just to keep him in, not even like a true proper housing or cage for him. So I didn't have anything because I don't deal with reptiles. And I didn't know really the first thing, but I thought I'm going to figure it out. And he said, okay, I'll sell you this little setup. So I gave him a little bit of money, and it was still less than what, the aquarium and things would cost, even used, if I bought them used. And I took him home that day, and I just started reading and Googling and calling vets and talking and set up an appointment. And it takes a while to get into an exotic vet, and there's not that many around here. And he was bad. I knew he was pretty bad. I had that intuition from working in the industry. And
when you say he was pretty bad, do you mean health-wise?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had. Well, I immediately discovered that he was infested with fleas.
A snake?
Yeah.
They can get fleas?
Yeah, they're not the same fleas that mammals get. So if you have a dog in the house, you don't have to worry about the dog getting or yourself getting the fleas, because they're only into cold-blooded, like cold-blooded fleas. Stay with cold-blooded animals. And,
different
yeah,
breed
yeah.
of flea.
That's what I learned. Yeah.
Jesus.
So,
well, can we
yeah, bring them out.
bring them out? Is that
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
By the way, yeah. I mean, like, feel free. Like, we don't have to. This is not gonna lie, I'm pretty pumped for this. This is actually kind of cool. And thank you, by the way. This is our first guest that brought a guest.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Here we go. I don't know if he's gonna fit in the frame.
Oh my
It's
God.
awkward. Here we go.
Oh, wow. And what is his name?
His name's JuJu.
JuJu.
I named him after. You have kids? You've seen the Princess Frog?
Yes.
The Disney movie? Yeah. So there's a snake. Mama Odie is like the witch doctor lady, the witchy woman of the swamp. And she has a really friendly, I think he's lime green, more like not so yellow, but he's a bright colored snake. He's really sweet and dopey. He doesn't talk. He's not a big part of the movie, but he doesn't look like a scary snake.
No,
you know? I mean, his size is intimidating, but
Can I say?
you can hold him if you want.
Like, but also, like, pictures don't do it justice. When you see this snake in person, like, all I can think about is, like, this is gonna sound so weird to say, but, like, beautiful.
Thanks. Thank you. I appreciate that. I put like a lot of work, like I said, rehabbing. But he's not even fully grown, so he'll get a few more feet bigger.
Oh, Jesus. How many pounds is he? You said like 20, 25?
He's maybe 21. I weighed him a couple months ago at the vet, but he was 15 when I got him.
I would love to hold him, but before I do, is there like a specific way I'm supposed to do it?
No, I mean, obviously just don't like hold him and let him hang, support him. But, when he's flicking his tongue, he's not trying to taste you or anything. He's just
Isn't that how they like
smell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just, he's never done anything. He's never, we were hanging out at Ballpark Village Halloween night and they were at their max capacity, rode the bull. He was unfazed by it, but just don't, get around the face.
I'm just
I can get in his mouth and do things, and
I was not planning on that.
It's just the only safety thing about that. So
okay.
here we go. Oh, he's hanging onto the chair.
He's like, hey, I like it.
He's strong.
Jesus. Hi. Hello.
Here we go. He's in the recliner. Here we go.
Oh my gosh.
Do you want to Britney Spears it around your neck?
Sure.
So you shouldn't really, you don't want them to wrap around your abdomen because they can close off your diaphragm, or they could strangle you technically, because all snakes are constrictors. So he's a constrictor, even though it's not his name. But yeah, he won't do anything.
Hello, JuJu.
He's captive bred, so he's hand tamed. I can't take credit for that because the guy that I got him from another guy, and he's the one that raised him and tamed him.
I am not doing a good job of holding him. I know.
That's okay. You can put, I
just want to support you. Let me support you. This is insane. But not forgive me, not insane, but I think I can see why. Hello.
Yeah, and then once I saw him, I was like, just like you, I'm like, I can't let this guy go. And he had fleas. He has a little bit of, I don't think you can see on the camera, he has a little bit of scale rot going on, a tiny bit.
What is scale rot?
So he had really bad scale rot when I got him. It's usually from not cleaning their cage. I've been experimenting with different
bedding. Is it okay if I just let him,
Yeah, do his thing.
Okay, cool.
See,
I'm fine if you are.
Yeah, I just, I don't want him to break, is that breakable?
All of it technically is breakable.
Because he's going to knock that off.
We can always buy more.
Okay, well, you can just grab him and pull him away from it if you want.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I feel like you're having
He's very complacent.
I feel like you're having fun.
So he had scale rot, and he really had a bad respiratory infection. That specific breed is prone to that. And then when they get a respiratory infection, they usually get a really bad mouth infection. I forgot what that's called, but so he had a really bad mouth infection with pus and all kinds of oozy stuff. And then, oh God, he had sepsis. He was septic.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it was rough. It took me like a whole year and a half to really rehab him.
You were saying before, because I gave you a call to just be like, hey, how's it going?
Mm-hmm.
That you had to give him a bath?
I give him a bath. Yeah, I just like to give him a bath before I take him out. There's no soap involved. It's just water. But
Gotcha.
Just to make sure he's extra clean. And usually I give
Maybe
him...
that's why he's glistening. He's gorgeous. I'm like, Jesus.
Thanks. I give him a bath every week.
Also, this is going to sound kind of weird, but this is the best way I can describe it. You can feel, like, I've never held a snake before. Mm-hmm. The best way I can describe it is you can feel every striation of every muscle in his body.
He's strong. It's crazy.
Yes, like immediate. and it's only around my neck. So
you wouldn't be able to fight him off.
No.
If he wanted to do.
Well, hold up now, Nick. Don't come on.
I don't know. Well, I meant like if he's around.
I'm retired, but I'm not that.
No. Yeah, he's.
Can I ask you another question? Like, and forgive me if this seems kind of ignorant, but like, what is the personality of a snake like? Like,
they're all different, you know. One of the things that I've really gotten into, I'm like the crazy snake lady now, I guess, but the breeds are all different, just like dogs, and some are more personable than others. Naturally, you know, they don't have the same brain, and so they're not as smart, they're not as intelligent. So they can't really bond the same way that an dog or a cat can to you. But I've lost my train of thought. ADHD moment.
The personality of
but
a
they
snake.
do have personality, you know, and I think it's more simplified than in other animals, but it's there. You know, he has his preferences. He has his dislikes, his likes.
When you first got him, what is that process like? Are you trying to like bond with him? Are you trying to train a snake in any way? I'm a little
there's some training
interested in this.
Into it, you know, especially with the feeding. You don't want to accidentally train them to associate. You want them to associate food with you in a way of like, oh, this person is the hand that feeds me, but I don't want to bite. Yeah, but you don't want them to think you are the food because their vision isn't really good. So like a lot of time people get bit because they're aiming for the food, but they get your hand or something because they're just seeing a rat-sized type of entity and going for it. But I was just worried about getting him healthy, and the bonding happened, I feel like, really quickly. Obviously, it's more one-sided, but I think it's people joke that it's a red flag that I have this python. Like, I think it's a green flag because it shows that I'm willing to commit, spend all this money and time and care because it was like round the clock work. And he, right, and you know, I get something out of it, but it's not like he can really do anything for me, you know, or even dogs, you know. There's more to it. So I think it's a really selfless thing, I realized. And but he started bonding with me on the 7th day. It was kind of crazy. When I come home, they can't hear, but they pick up and feel vibrations and stuff in your footsteps.
No way.
Yeah. And so, well, you know, so there's no like ear holes or anything. And so the smell is really sensitive, but their vision and things like that isn't really clear. I'm sure him being albino probably doesn't help.
He's albino, but he's yellow as well.
Yeah, he's albino.
What is yellow? I thought albino meant like pure white. Am I?
There are albinos that are pure white, but since he's a pattern, he's a labyrinth. That's the pattern on him. He's an albino Burmese python, but labyrinth is his albino labyrinth is his more.
Nikki, the strength of this animal is immense right now.
One time I had to pull him out of the piping of the washer or dryer. I can't remember, and I was I was so worried I was going to hurt him. I was shaking him like a battle rope, trying to aggravate him to get him to back out. And now I have like a door on the laundry area. But I had my full weight braced up against him, was just hanging on him, my full like 140 pounds, and he wasn't budging, you know.
Dude.
It did not faze him. I shook him for probably, you know, it felt like a lifetime. And he finally, but there was no uncurling him or unhooking him.
What did the friends say? When people come over to hang out.
Some of my friends love him, some of them hate him. My grandma and grandpa won't come inside my house anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you?
Maybe this is why I'm actually single.
He doesn't just. Does he like in the house just kind of move about as he wants? No way.
No, you don't leave him unattended. Okay,
that's what I figured.
Yeah, you know he has a
like you come home and your dog's like waiting for you at the door.
Yeah,
it's like you're just your python like hey.
No, it's more like birds and guinea pigs and things like that. You know, you let them loose. They need their free time. You know, he goes on walks like a dog. It's more like he walks.
Wait, what?
Well, it's more like he walks me, I guess, because you just put him on you and you go for a walk. It's good for him to get the vitamin D. Okay.
What do your neighbors say?
It's a good question. I don't know what they think.
Like Jenna with her pooch, like a little like Shih Tzu, and then Nikki comes out with the Burmese python, like, oh look, they're friends.
You know how like cities have those people that are just maybe no one knows their real name, but they're just like there's White Jesus, for example, in St. Louis that everyone knows, and he's just this man that dresses up like Jesus in a white outfit, and he's that character. I feel like I'm gonna be like the snake lady or the animal lady of Soulard when I'm gonna die there, and it's gonna be me and my pets, but. What was I gonna say?
You take them out for walks.
Take them out for walks. Oh, I was gonna say I'm on the board of 2 clubs of the Gateway Parrot Society and then of the St. Louis Herpetological Society. So I've been learning a lot about reptiles and amphibians through them. And they've been a huge resource and a godsend of a group and club to be a part of. Really good organizations.
I got to be honest with you. This is the most nervous I've ever been on a podcast.
Oh, you're nervous? You seem cool.
Nervous in the sense that like I'm like hyper aware of like every little action I'm taking because I don't want to. I'm careful. I want to support him. I don't want to smush him.
Yeah.
I want to give him
I mean,
enough
don't
room to
overthink
move.
the support. I just mean, don't hold him by his neck and hang and let everything, gravity do the rest because it would, probably not be.
Well, thank you for bringing him in.
Of course.
I can see the fatuation. I can see the interest. I can see this is interesting for me. I did want to ask you a question, and if you don't mind, can we just have him join us for the rest of the conversation?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, cool. I didn't know if you wanted to put him back in, but I'm chilling if you're chilling.
No, he needs to stretch his
JuJu, you good?
His invisible legs.
Don't fuck with me. Ben Lawler and the Tom James family will ensure that whether you're purchasing your first custom fit suit or your 50th, the process is unrivaled. With the experience and quality of the Tom James name, allow Ben Lawler to help shape the vision that is your professional brand with a suit that speaks to the conviction in their craft. With fabric sourced here in the US, you'll know quality and craftsmanship are top of class. Like a sculptor examines wet clay before creating a masterpiece, Ben Lawler will walk you through the process of selection, measuring, and stitching to ensure your finished product is a work of art. Putting your trust in Ben is a guarantee that your brand will elevate to the next level. And always remember, you don't get a second chance at a first impression. If you don't mind me asking, we were talking about your mother. We were talking about your grandmother. We haven't brought up your father at all. Is that a touchy subject?
Oh.
Is he in the equation?
I love talking about myself, regardless whether it's stuff like this or not. No, so my biological father was not involved with the business, really. I mean, like, I was a baby, but I believe he helped with all the doing all the renovations and that type of work, the physical stuff, but he doesn't know anything about animals or anything like that, and he is not a presence in my life. Has not been a presence for a long time, so the family business is very much on my mom's side and, generational kind of thing for us. They're the women. You
said biological father. Is there a stepfather?
Well, he's kind of like a stepdad to me. I mean, he is essentially, he came into my mom's life when I was pretty grown. So that's why I say kind of is, kind of isn't, because he wasn't there when I was itty bitty little kid. So it's just different, But yeah, my mom's boyfriend, Scott, they lived together. He got kind of just thrown into this lifestyle of living on this property with all these animals. And my mom has, a goat, horse, chickens, she had ducks for a while. It's like Dr. Dolittle, honestly. And everybody gets along. Like, I have a guinea pig at my house. I might be getting a green iguana. I have a cat. I'm looking for another dog, birds, and obviously he could eat them, but we keep him separate.
How do you choose what animals to, like, take in for yourself and, like, what animals you try to maybe...
Readopt?
Yeah, like, I believe they call it, like, find a forever home, correct?
Yeah. Okay. Some of it's just personal preference. I have some ideas of things that are, again, kind of goals, bucket list. Like, I really want to get 2 little skinny guinea pigs. Love skinny pigs, those little naked ones. Not like a naked mole rat, but kind of like that. They're hairless.
What?
Like the cat, there's like the Dr. Evil cat, but it's like
a
guinea.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about, like Rufus from Kim Possible.
Well, he's a naked mole rat, so they're different, but it's along those lines, There's certain things I look for. This is something that I completely fell into.
You don't say.
But unexpectedly. But some of it is somewhat intentional. But when you work in the industry of connections through my mom and people, people are always trying to give you stuff constantly. They get themselves in these pickles thinking, oh, it'll be cute and it's fine for a while. And then, or they have kids and stuff and they just get overwhelmed or bite off more they can chew. And there's just so much. So some of it's intentional, more of like keeping an eye out. I know when I was a kid, my mom always wanted a Great Dane. And then as Great Dane became, on Facebook Marketplace, someone was really needing a home. She needed a bit of rehabilitation. And so we took her, we have the means, the education experience to do that. So now that I've dabbling and getting into the exotics, I think we're going to get into wildlife rehabilitation this fall after all the crazy summer shenanigans.
If you don't mind me asking, this also sounds like immensely expensive. So, like, how do you kind of compensate yourself for the expense that you're taking? I mean, to take in an animal,
right?
Rehab them, get them the medicals, proper diet and care. This seems like a kind of like an immense financial undertaking.
Yeah, it definitely can be. I think when you have the background that we have it's not as expensive because we have a lot of resources already. You know, have cages and equipment and things like that. And if you can find really good vets and have a good relationship with them, that helps as well. Or multiple, in my case, multiple vets. I'm hoarding those up as many as I can get. Their knowledge and experience is so invaluable to. I couldn't do what I do without them. You know, so.
Do they work?
But I
in
don't have kids.
Do they work in tandem with you though? Like, do they? Is there like a vet that you go to, and like he gives you like a volume discount, or is there like?
No. I mean, I think they do that for shelters and stuff. So my
Gotcha.
mom fosters and rescues with certain shelters, and she takes them to their appointments, and they do that. They do a lot of stuff pro bono. That's I haven't been doing that since I moved to St. Louis or helping her with that, so I don't know all the details. But for us, no, you just pay for it out of pocket. But, you know, I don't have kids is what I was trying to say. So when you think of how much a kid costs to raise in just 1 year of their life, it's really not that much. If you can budget for your children, I budget for my pets, you know, it's still significantly, even with the rehabbing, way more affordable.
I would agree with that. I remember before I became a father, there were a lot of anxieties. Obviously, being a father has its own anxiety. Like, I don't want to mess that up, right? But then the other one was like a financial burden. Not burden, but responsibility is the word I want to use. The financial responsibility of having a kid. I will say that it is, granted, my child is not even 2 years old yet. So like the big expenses, like the college and all that stuff, like that hasn't hit me yet, or a car when she turns 16. But for right now, I barely feel it, if that makes sense. But it's also like kind of like a staggered expense. It's like a little bit here, a little bit there.
Yes.
It's not like this one big like, all right, at the end of the year, you're going to have to pay $15,000 kind of thing. So I can see how it can be like if you sat down and did the finances on it, you're like, holy shit, I spent this
Yeah, I
much
just
money on
don't want
stuff.
to know. I don't know. My mom helps too, you know, and it's not why she's in the business, but she's always been passionate about animals and then ended up starting the business. So she's not making money off of her animals specifically, but she's working in the industry and it's just a big cycle, you know. So she can have the animals and I can have our pets and animals because of her business. But it wouldn't be a bad idea, you know. I would like to get into it on the side, I think, and turn it somehow into some business so that, you know, or a lot of people become nonprofits and end up starting rescues or something like that so that they can, and organizations, and then.
Is this like a dream? Is this something that you've been thinking about? Like, okay, how can okay, there are many. Hey, JuJu.
He's in the danger zone.
I like you
too. Is
too.
it weird to have a snake by your snake?
Oh man, I gotta be honest with you. Well, yeah, no. There's many, there's many like phases in terms of like creating a business, right? Like a lot of people say it's like inspiration, and then kind of formulating like what a business process would look like, things of that nature. Like when you're thinking about the possibility of a shelter, I mean, at what phase do you think you're at? Just the dream phase, like one day?
I don't want to have a shelter. No, it's not a dream of mine. I have a couple ideas in the hatch. I don't know exactly what I want to do, and I love my job at the barbershop. I don't want to leave there. It's not that, but I have been missing being in the pet industry. I just feel like I have so much knowledge and experience. I need to go somewhere with that. You know, I didn't become a vet because I'm not good with blood or things like that. But there's starting to be more, huh?
You don't think you could do both?
What do you mean?
Be a barber and do this?
No, I think on the side there's something to do. I don't know. I'm at the idea stage, I guess,
Fair.
to answer your question of just trying to figure out what I want to do with it. You know, I feel like so much stuff now is social media driven and people go online and I see pet professionals educating and doing stuff on there. I thought, well, I could just try starting with that. I know
I think
really
that's actually
saturated
intriguing.
market, but
So?
I've been saying since I was 18 that I should do that and had ideas, and then other people, I've seen them do them now. I'm like, oh shoot, I should have done that. It actually took off because it's a labor of love that I would like to get back into.
If it makes you feel better, I waited until 2024 to start a podcast. So,
True, yeah. So yeah,
talk about a
and here you are
saturated market.
killing it.
Killing it is a strong word.
I don't know. I'm impressed.
I think if the passion is there, everything else falls in line.
Yeah.
That's just the way I look at it. So like if it's saturated, is it something you're passionate about? Is it something that you think you could have fun doing? Then fucking do it.
Well, and just like all the other activities I've been involved with, I think at the end of the day, I turned 30 this year, so things become so crystal clear, and especially with the aftermath of COVID and just realizing that life is short and, you know, you could just be gone one day. If I died tomorrow, or if I die when I'm 80 and I don't do something with this, you know, I will feel regretful. I want to do something. I want to help people. There's just so many animals I see being neglected and not cared for. And a lot of time it isn't even intentional. People don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
They don't
Ignorance
realize.
is.
Yeah, they don't, and there's so much misinformation on the internet. And I just want to help. I just, you know, it's for I've, it's not completely selfless. I gain stuff from that, but it'd be really cool to turn into a job. And I would have done that if social media, I probably would have went that route if I were just a few years younger. But when I moved to St. Louis, no one took me seriously because I was so young. And I think being a girl, a woman, you know, people viewed me as a girl, not even a woman. So that didn't help.
How young were you when you came to St. Louis?
I just turned 21, literally a month before.
You were.
Too,
I don't know if, I think you're hitting the nail on the head where I don't know if it was the fact that you were a woman, but I think it's the fact that everyone thought you were a kid.
Yeah, and I started as a kid, and I got experience other places than my mom's business. I worked in other businesses, and I would even bring back knowledge and things because she's kind of chained to it, being the owner, and not being able to find enough help in such a small town.
Is this field something that is like highly credentialed? Because I'll give you an example. So
Highly
like
what?
where the credential is in demand to be able to work, like having a veterinary degree, or let's say
There's a shortage of, and same in nursing and doctors. There's a shortage of all that, and again, probably why I feel guilty about saying like, oh, I want to be a little internet TikTok star or something, because everybody is going to that, I think, and thinking, oh, this is the life, and it's so easy, I could do this and work from home. But we need workers, you know, we need that. So the industry is actually, in the pet industry, they're reformulating. It seems like they're trying to, from word around the water cooler, is that they're trying to create some sort of higher level veterinary technician or nurse type of, because it's just vet tech or it's veterinarian. There's not dental hygienist, there's not dentist, there's not eyeball special, you know, there's
almost like more niche.
and people, there's all these different doctors and all these different, you know, physical therapists, things like that, but you just have vets. And there are specialists that maybe focus, there's ophthalmologists, but they had to go be a vet, you know, so it's one or the other. And technicians don't, it's very scratching the surface compared to what a vet does. So I think what I've been hearing is they're trying to create an extra level of accreditation for veterinary technicians to where they can do neuterings or vaccination, you know, some nurse practitioner style type of work. And I'm sad because I wish that were a thing now. I wish that were a thing when I was 18, because I wouldn't have blinked twice. That's what I feel like I was put here to do, you know, but I pass out when I see blood, and I've worked so hard my whole life.
Something tells me that's not a good combination.
No, I can't do it. You know, it's not like it scares me, but my mom, she'd laugh at me because I would hold my eyes open trying to watch these veterinary shows as a kid, desensitizing myself. But it's one of those reflexes, like people with needles and stuff. I don't know if that's more fear-based, but I have this reflex reaction where if I tried to work at a blood drive and was supposed to be helping the patients who were donating blood, and then I ended up passing out, and then they had to help me, and it was a whole disaster. So I know, and that was just not too long ago. So yeah, I've never gotten over it, but I feel like there's something I could do that's still in the realm of it, and I don't know, it's a waste if I don't. And I would love to get some more education, some more formal education, because I feel like even as an adult that's older, I get more respect. People take my word for my word. You know, all these people don't know me in St. Louis, and they're just like, oh yeah, she knows everything about animals. They don't even blink. But when I was 21, they're just like, who is this crazy kid trying to tell me how to, you know, about the specific brush or whatever, you know, or food, nutrition, whatever. They didn't listen.
What enticed you to come to St. Louis? Like, why did you come to St. Louis?
My town is really small. I never fit in. I didn't really have any friends. My brother moved up here in college and stayed, and it was only like I think it's about an hour away. So depending on, could be an hour and a half, depending on where you are in the metro area. But yeah, there's just more opportunity here. It was never a question. I was not going to be one of those people that lived and died and grew up in the same house like so many people do. And there's, you know, one restaurant or two restaurants, you know, it's so small. There's 6,000 people, I think 8,000 people.
Have you ever talked to Whitney about that? Because I think she has a lot of that where she lives as well. You know what I mean?
I listened to her episode and I was really excited because I felt like there was so much that we had in common that I didn't realize, or things that she could relate to. And, you know, we're around the same age, don't have kids, aren't having children, don't want to have children, single. And it's hard because people are like, why don't you want to have kids? Why don't you want to have kids? You know, and we can just take off on a dime like that and do what we want. You know, I still have to I can take my pets to my mom's or to a friend's, or they're usually pretty self-sufficient. He only eats once a month, so, you know, I'm not having to daily,
Good job, JuJu.
yeah, do stuff.
How big is that rat?
Oh,
Jesus.
it's two. It's
Oh,
two. As my
Jesus.
coworkers call it, they're like those are some New York City rats. They're really big and really long. So, yeah, I can just kind of take off, like I said, and go and do whatever. And it's really hard because everyone with kids, you know, has to plan it out, find babysitters, and
I'm trying to pinpoint where this kind of stems from, if you don't mind me asking. In this conversation, there have been kind of like a few things that have been brought up multiple times. Kids was one of them. You told me off camera that you don't want to have kids. Like you're
I've
not,
always known I'm not having children.
Can you elaborate? Like, what do you mean? Ever since you were little?
Yeah, I you know, I've grown, and I'm always working on trying to be better than the next.
And I hope this doesn't
boss,
seem like
I mean.
I'm curious. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Like if
Oh,
that's
no,
your
I
life
wouldn't take
choice,
it that way.
each to each their own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just
No, just because you have kids doesn't make me think anything.
yeah. Forgive me if that seems like the way, but I'm genuinely like, why not?
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same person though. The things I liked as a kid are the things I enjoy as an adult, and I'm very unwavering and very sure of myself. I've always known myself, I guess is a good way to put it. It makes me sad that I meet adults who are like, they clearly don't know themselves, whether they realize it or not, or they come up to me and they're like, you have so much passion in your life, whether it's about the animals or dance or piano or even just my job barbering, which I discovered later. And I think it's harder for me. I think it's easier to be passionate about stuff that you discovered in your childhood. It's just hits different. There's a little bit of nostalgia and stuff that comes with it, but I just have always known myself and known that I don't want kids. And kind of similar to the barbershop conversation, I'm getting so much companionship and I feel motherly. I know kids and animals aren't the same. Kids and pets, you know, I don't like the term fur baby. I hate that. That's cringy to me. They're not a baby, they're a dog. But I get that scratch itch, you know, I'm satiated. I feel like I'm caring for something. I feel maternal.
You're fulfilled.
I'm very fulfilled. And I think my brother's the same way. He has a bunch of pets and unlike my father, you know, he doesn't have anything to do with him either, but he grew up working in my mom's business. He got to see it full on from a more mature, older child perspective growing up in it, and saw all the crazy customers and all working out all the kinks and the problems. And he was there through those really formidable years, but he's very educated too about it. And he's the same way. He doesn't want any kids. So I don't know if it's a genetic thing or if it's just because we, like you said, feel so fulfilled with animals, but I just have no desire. It's not a question in mind. It would feel like a life sentence, a death sentence if I had to have a kid. And the physical also having to have the child is terrifying.
You seem like a very kind and like loving individual. And I guess what I'm trying to say is,
You're petting him and stroking him.
While I'm stroking your snake. Is this like acceptable? I don't know. Do snakes feel this?
Yeah. I mean, at first he's gonna like everyone because you're a heat source. So as long because he's especially
you're
tropical.
just using me.
Yeah.
Oh, we had something special. No, I
think
guess
that's how we bonded so quickly. Like I said, in 7 days, he's like, this woman's a heat
very
source.
hot.
She's caring for me. I feel better in her presence. I'm not so sick. I like her.
The joke is not lost on me. Bunch of guys are gonna watch this like, yeah, she's hot. Oh my god. Sorry. No, but the reason I bring that up, and this is gonna kind of sound like an insult, but not to you, to other people. I see so many people that have kids that don't exemplify characteristics to me of like loving and nurturing and
it's really
caring.
sad. I see.
And then to see someone who is loving and nurturing
Thank you.
caring, and then to be
I'm very
like,
empathetic.
yeah, it's kind of like, oh, dude, like we lost a good one kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, thank you.
No, I'm sorry.
No.
And now like a bunch of people are like, what do you mean, Ariane? You don't think I should have kids? Like, no, that's not what I'm saying.
No, I know what you mean. No, it's funny too because as I've gotten older, I've found people and friends, and we all, I guess, like does attract like because we've all gravitated towards each other. I don't have a perfect circle of friends that all know each other. We're all just one big group that hangs out together. But all the people who I'm around, even when I was 21, where you don't know if you want to have kids or not, or a lot of people think they do, even if they change their mind later, I somehow found all the single, childless, and who not just by the timing in their life, but want to be or choosing to be child free. And we're just a bunch of single, childless women and men who
No, I think there's nothing wrong with that. I often tell people like I would rather people just like live out their lives instead of try to like fit a mold of what they think they should be. It's like, dude, you got 80 years on this planet. If you're lucky, be happy. As long as you're not hurting anybody else, what do I care?
Yeah, I've always been just kind of non-traditional, I feel like, in a lot of ways, being a
You
barber instead of
don't say.
cosmetologist, mothering but not children. So, but honestly, I don't think my mom would have, my mom had my brother and I by accident. So I don't think, I don't think she would have, if it were a different time and day, day and age, like with better, education and, medicine, she might have not had us. So just no one in our family are really big into kids. It's just my mom, my brother, my mom's mother and father, and then now what would be he's like my stepdad, Scott, and that's my mom's boyfriend. So very, very small, very close knit, and he doesn't have any kids. He has a sister, has no kids. It's kind of like somehow again we just all attracted each other.
What does your mother say about it? Like, does she want grandkids? Does she pressure you in any way?
No,
or
that's
does
what I'm saying.
like...
She didn't want to have us. We were
Oh my
accidents.
God.
That's what I was trying to say. Like she wouldn't have had us. We were as was happening. Two different types of birth control.
Thank
Both
God
failed.
for poor pullout game.
Yeah.
Oh,
so like I
geez.
said, maybe it is a genetic thing. I don't know, but my friends who grew up with big families want big families. I think that's you're
Like
a
a
product of your
nurture
environment. Yeah, you want what you grew up with. It makes sense.
That actually kind of does make sense because my wife is she has lots of siblings and me I only have my brother, and then when my mom passed it was just like me and my dad and my brother. We used to call each other the Three Musketeers, and I didn't realize I didn't realize that I didn't have an affinity for a big family until I first started dating my wife, because like their family just did everything together, and it's not that my family's not close, but I think it's because it's three men. Like once my mom died, like the glue between my brother, my dad, and I kind of like, I don't want to say disappeared. I want to be careful how I say this, but three independent men doing their own thing, right? So like we would meet each other for like birthdays and special occasions, but like I could go like a month or two without talking to my brother, right? And then when I started dating my wife, I mean, they were just hanging out at the house with the family. Like that was just like a daily occurrence.
They just show up. Like you don't even have to call.
Yes,
Probably.
exactly.
Just everybody loves Raymond. Just
Like if
so
they
close.
don't see you, they're like, "Where were you today?"
Yeah,
I'm
they're
like,
like, "Are you sick? What's wrong?"
yes,
Yeah.
and it took a little bit for me because like Bruna would be like, "Hey, I'm going to my mom's house," and I'm like, "Okay, cool, have fun," and she's like, "You don't want to come with me?" I was like, "Oh, that's a test." Like, okay, yeah, I do want to come with you, yeah. So it was kind of like to your point. It's not that I don't want that or don't, it was just it was never something I had for the past decade until now. So I guess I just didn't know what I had or I didn't know what I didn't have.
You didn't know
Does
what
that
you're
make sense?
missing.
Yeah, I mean, and I like that she's like that. I can't say even to this day that I am. Like I'm definitely still the one who's like, hey, there's a birthday dinner. I'm like, oh, tell them happy birthday. And they're like, you're coming. I'm like,
Right,
oh,
she's like,
okay,
that's-
I'll tell them happy
that's letting you
birthday.
know, yeah.
So I can understand that if it's like, if this is just the way that it has been ever since you were little, like, of course, like this is how it's going to be when you're an adult. I guess the only question I have for you left, and by the way, thank you so much for being a podcast guest and being on and
Thank
showing me
you.
your snake,
I'm honored.
is how many dates does a guy have to get in before you bring the snake out? Like, when do you feel comfortable? Like, all right, I got something to show you. And he's like, are you a man? And you're like, not in the way you think.
Well,
But here's
I
my
don't know what to
snake.
say. I don't know what to say. No, I definitely, I haven't been dating. I haven't had the time. Blue Crew took up so much of my time. And even then I was at PBR before that. I've just work, especially since, well, ever. But I don't want to spring him on anybody because I feel like he could be a deal breaker, especially some people just have phobias,
Really?
but I joke that I'm not for the weak, if you're not into him, you're not going to get with me because eventually you're probably going to live together and he's going to be living for 25 probably
He's gonna
years.
be around.
So he's going to be around. So you just, you don't have to handle him or you don't have to think he's cool, but just be okay with him existing in my life, It's
Slightly intimidating at first, but now that I've chilled here for a little bit, not gonna lie.
It's
Well,
funny
I
how
don't-
fast you get used to
Yeah,
him.
I don't
Like
know
he used
why
to
I was
seem
scared.
so big to me, and he was even smaller when I got him. Or just you get used to the feeling, the gripping, and the pressure.
He's
and
definitely strong. Like if he wanted to.
yeah, he would. Good.
Nikki, thank you so much for being a podcast guest.
Thank you.
I would love to. I'm kind of thinking about this on the fly, so don't feel like you have to answer it. But how would you feel if we got you, Jack, and Whit like on an episode.
Oh, I would love that.
I think that would be fun.
Actually, I was thinking, I wish they were here this whole time. It'd be so fun. Yeah.
I think we might. We recently did something with the podcast studio where we had like multiple guests on for people. So I know for a fact we can do 3. Now I just gotta find the logistical ability to get me on there as well.
Yeah.
4. But I would love to do that because there have been, you 3 ladies are like kind of like a Venn diagram. You are your own circles, but you share so many similarities. And I would love to kind of just pick your brains on a myriad of things, because every conversation I've had with Whitney for the past like 3 months has been, let's just say people would be shocked at her intelligence.
Yeah, I get underestimated. I think it's the blonde, honestly, and the boobs. Just being blunt, being honest.
I wasn't saying that.
I mean, for both of us. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's just one of those things where you can't judge a book by its cover.
No.
And I remember the first time I saw Whitney, the first time I saw Jackie, the first time I saw you. What I thought and then what I learned were vastly different.
Yeah, I remember because you were not sliding into my DMs, but commenting about the animals. I got so many people who commented on that video of my cat, and you like, how did I not know? Something about the cat. And I'm like, well, if you like my cat, you should see my python. And then you're like, what? You're like, how did I not know this? Like, but so many people. I'm shocked. So many.
By the way, not where I thought you were gonna go with that. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, no, don't forget.
She's gonna send me a giant dick pic. I'm like, whoa.
No, so many people don't have snakes, I realize, and things like this, but they don't bring them out, and a lot of them maybe aren't as friendly as him. Like I said, they all have different personalities. But yeah, it's not something that you can tell by looking at someone.
Nikki, you are an onion girl. You got layers. Nikki, thank you so much for being on the podcast.